First of all, this might be the last, I hope, the last time we speak, at least from this tape here. And I wanted to say that, as we reflect on our term on the Council, I think we have delivered on what we had tried to achieve in a difficult situation in the world, where there are several divisions among the major powers. I think we've tried to find and identify space for countries such as Sweden. We tried to mobilize the elected members to come in as bridge builders and to make sure that there are results and outcomes of the Security Council. If we all want to protect multilateralism, we have to make sure that the Security Council, as the centerpiece of peace and security, also functions well and works. I think we've tried to make sure that on issues where the political situation is complicated, where war is the rule of the day, such in Syria and Yemen, that there is always space for humanitarian action. And I'm very proud of the resolutions that Sweden has sponsored on the humanitarian support into Syria. And I'm very happy that on Yemen, hopefully we're ending on a positive note after 2 years of terrible distress surrounding the humanitarian situation in a war that shouldn't be there in the first place. I think we've been able to pursue the women, peace and security agenda to the point where it's now irreversibly on the Security Council and the Secretariat's focus. I don't think that's something that will provide result from one day to the other, but it's a systematic and a systemic improvement that I hope we leave behind. Today is quite symbolic that today, hopefully then, we'll take in a few hours, adopt a resolution endorsing the Stockholm Agreement. We will have an area formula meeting on protection of medical workers and hospitals. One aspect of this generally deteriorating situation as to the international humanitarian law. I hope you're able to attend that, because we have a surgeon, a doctor coming in from South Sudan, and a health worker from Afghanistan that will be able to speak from those two situations, how vulnerable they are in war situations. And finally, I hope that there will be progress on the African Union peacekeeping operations. We strongly believe that Africa provides indispensable support to what the UN is trying to achieve in Africa, and therefore we need to endorse and support their peacekeeping operations in the best way possible. The UN can do nothing unless we have strong partnerships, and the African Union has really shown that kind of strong commitment and partnership. I think, there are a lot of other things I wanted to say, but I wanted to end by just thanking you for the work you do. I want to say here that I believe that the media is an indispensable part of any democratic and rules-based organization. We are aware how vulnerable many journalists are, and I want to, at the beginning of next year, look at what initiatives we could take to ensure the protection of journalists is reinforced in a complicated world. So thank you all for your excellent cooperation, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Ambassador, so can you just take us through a little bit of the last hours on the Yemen resolution and what's in and what's out and where does it stand?
Yeah, the essence is to really 3 points. One is to endorse what was agreed in Stockholm. Second is to push for further commitments by the parties to continue working on the issues that are still outstanding. And third is to authorize the Secretary General to move forward on the planning and the monitoring and all this sort of the UN part of the implementation of the agreements. Those are the salient points in this resolution. On top of that, it's important to speak about the humanitarian situation and all the violations that have been conducted there. So it's just been a question of finding the right balance about what needs to happen now and what are more the general points about Yemen. But I'm confident that there is now a perfect balance, and that will be a resolution adopted in a few hours.
Ambassador, just on a bigger picture question, Sweden does have a relationship with the United States, is protecting power on some issues. What is your view about what's next on Syria? We heard from H.E Mr. yesterday in terms after the U.S. pullout.
Yeah. Look, I think as Staffan de Mistura has been saying for a long time, it's parties may think that they have won the war, but it's a completely different thing about winning the peace. This has been a strong message to the government of Syria, but we strongly believe that the international engagement cannot end now. Actually, it should be stepped up to ensure that we have, all the forces are coming in to support. And when I say forces, I'm not necessarily talking about military forces, but I think everyone needs to stay engaged to ensure that there is a political process now which is inclusive and which leads to elections and a reformed constitution, so that all Syrians feel that the country that is coming out of this terrible war is one where their rights are protected. And I think it's too early to disengage.
Ambassador, two quick questions. Is there consensus on the AU resolution?
Look, no, I don't think we're there just yet. I know that work is still ongoing, so I can't predict exactly what's going to happen this afternoon.
And what did you think when you heard that Secretary Mattis was stepping down yesterday?
No comments on that. All right, thanks a lot. Thank you.
Can we take a selfie together? Why not? Why not? Okay, everybody.